Silverwolf is a new support debuff character. Even though she alone can't carry a team, she fits an irreplaceable niche in mono-element teams, and the amount of utility she brings to the table is second to none. My name is Kite, and this is the full guide to Silverwolf. Silverwolf is quite a straightforward character, with most of her playstyle revolving around debuffing your enemies and giving them more bugs and viruses than an old Grandma's PC. Allow Changes is a single target debuff that implants a weakness to an enemy, and also reduces their resistance to that element and all other elements on top of that for 2 turns. Oh yeah, this ability deals damage as well. Sounds busted, right? Well, that's just the start because everything else about her is busted as well. Her ultimate, aptly named User Ban, reduces the enemy's defense for 3 turns by a whopping 49.5%. Keep in mind that this stacks multiplicatively with her skill, so expect some crazy numbers to pop up when you're fighting bosses with her. For people who don't understand why this is broken, just think of Silverwolf as a 2 times multiplier for damage. Since she's a debuffer, here's an important concept you need to be able to grasp as well. Debuffer units are stronger on stronger units. Since stronger units have more stats, there's more def and rest for her to shred. Compared to someone like Tingyun, who scales on how much you invest on your character, Silverwolf on the other hand not only scales with investment, but she also scales on how big the stats of her enemies are. A big game hunter, if you will. Just from those 2 things, Silverwolf is already an S tier character, but to add more toppings on this proverbial Silverwolf cake, her talent reads that whenever Silverwolf attacks, she can apply bugs onto the enemy. This works on her basic, skill, and ultimate. There are 3 types of bugs. 1 reduces their attack, 1 reduces their defense, and 1 reduces their speed. Since all of her attacks are single target, you can treat her almost like a hunt character and focus fire on a boss and give them computer aids. Due to the nature of her kit, she can pretty much slot into any team and act as an offensive support. No matter which 5-star damage dealers you have, she can complement. Her gameplay is pretty much just her spamming her skill on every enemy that you haven't used it on yet and just enabling your team to wreak havoc and rip apart anything they touch. For her light cone, you should get before the tutorial on her Star Hunt game event since the game gives you Superimpose 5 for free. Just in case you're watching this video and the event is already over for some reason, then Incessant Rain, her signature light cone, is good too. If you don't have that, then in the name of the world, good night and sleep well, and we will meet again are the ones that you can use well. The other Nihility light cones like Fermata aren't really usable for her, since none of her attacks apply damage over time. For combat skill priority, just upgrade her skill, ultimate, and then talent. If you've got the mats to spare, you can upgrade her basic, but it's not really needed of course. For Traces, Generate extends the bug duration from her talent and she can implant more bugs when an enemy's weakness is broken. Inject extends the duration of the weakness implant from her skill. And finally, Side Note further reduces enemies' all-type resistance by an additional 3%. For her teams, she's super flexible. I think there's a lot of teams that she can slot in. But here are some thoughts on team building with her. Her skill will choose a random element that your team has. So if your team has 4 different elements, there's a 25% chance for her to implant each elemental weakness. But if you have 3 different elements, it's always a 33% chance for all of them, and it doesn't matter if you have 2 quantum units. This means that you want to keep your team's elements to either 2 elements or 1 element only, unless of course your team is already stacked like the gameplay footage that I'm playing in the background. Ideally, Silverwolf's best team is a full quantum team, so that her skill will gain maximum value since everyone in the team benefits from her implanting quantum weaknesses to enemies. So the best team for her would be Zilla, Silverwolf, Qinque, and Fu Xuan. Now I understand that this isn't really an F2P friendly team and Fu Xuan hasn't even been released yet. So let's make something that's a little bit within more reach. Silverwolf, Asta, Qinque, and Fireblazer is the team comp that I'm going to be running until more quantum units are gonna be released. Asta works really well with Silverwolf since her break efficiency with her skill is very strong. Qinque is the main carry with her multi-target attacks and Fireblazer is the shielder. You can obviously juggle around units and it'll still work fine as long as your party is just kept to a maximum of 2 different elements. With relic sets, you can use 4-piece Genius of Brilliant Stars if you want to maximize damage, 4-piece of Shooting Meteor if you want to increase the break effect of Entanglement, and you can also mix and match 2-piece sets of either and also Musketeer of Wild Wheat if you just want raw stats. For planar ornaments, just take the Pan-Galactic Commercial Enterprise for the effect hit rate. As usual for debuff units, take effect hit rate for the body, attacker speed with the feet, and quantum damage boost with the planar sphere. Then you can take energy regen for the link rope. For substats, you want to maximize the effect hit rate as much as possible. You need 97% effect hit rate for guaranteed debuffs, but that's the absolute cap for it. You should be comfortable at around 80% to 90% though. If you have her E2, then this is lowered to around 40% to 50%. Now if you hit the needed effect hit rate, you can either choose to increase her personal damage or her supporting capabilities. If you want personal damage, then invest into crit and attack percent. But if you want to increase her supporting capabilities, then you can build speed or break effect. Silverwolf speed is already alright. Here's the breakpoints for speed if you want to see it. Keep your crit ratio to 1 to 2, and remember that stacking attack percent will give you diminishing returns compared to crit. Now a question that pops up often is if you should pull for a light cone. If you're an F2P player, the answer is a hard no. Just use your superimposed 5 light cone from the event, since that's way better than an S0 incessant rain. I would save up for the upcoming quantum units, but you can still roll for her again since her eidolons are pretty good. This is because when she ults with her E1, she regenerates 7 energy for each debuff that the ulted enemy has, to a maximum of 35 energy. Her ultimate's cost is 110, so this would increase her ultimate's uptime by a lot. Her E2 reduces all enemies' effect resistance by 20%, pretty much guaranteeing that all of your debuffs will hit. E4 increases her ultimate damage depending on how many debuffs the enemy has, up to 100%. And lastly, E6 is the same as E4, but instead for all of her damage. At the end of the day, Silverwolf at E0 is already a very strong support unit, and you shouldn't really stress about getting more eidolons on her. In my opinion, Silverwolf herself is a must-pull. Since she slots easily into most teams, some units can deal more damage than others, but her weakness implant, Rest Shred, and Death Shred are irreplaceable. If you remember in my Dunhung video, I talked briefly about multiplicative damage, and Silverwolf does that as well, but this time she does it for her entire team. My next video will be on Chinchue if you want to see that, and my name is Kite. If you want more guide videos like this, then like and subscribe for more.